So guys, let's get going. I know a few people are probably still going to join the call. And I know what it's like. Everybody's time is always probably a couple of minutes out here or there on their watches and stuff as well. So like I just said, if any of you got microphones, could I ask you just to mute those, just because this is recorded and sometimes it can kind of feed back into the video. Also, if you've got any mobile phones as well, again, if they're on silent or just slightly away from whatever it is that you're using to kind of watch this evening's webinar, because again, the joys of technology can all kind of interfere. I am just going to say now, just in case it does happen, because it most probably will, I have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm doing this webinar from home. The 3-year-old has a tendency when I'm talking to come down from his bed, even though he's asleep. So if you hear a little voice that says hello to you all, that's who it will be. So guys, let's get going. And like I said, a Q&A at the end, and it's something that we'll spend some time and go through. So first of all, thank you ever so much for joining my first webinar this evening. My name is Simone Thomas. Actually, can I just ask, can you see the presentation? Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's coming up now. So as I just said, my name is Simone Thomas and I'm a hair loss expert, nutritionist and weight management consultant. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my own personal journey that I've experienced personally with hair loss, but also with what I've experienced over the years of owning salons and hair loss clinics in the UK. There are many different forms of hair loss, and we would need more than a day to talk about them all. So this evening, I'm going to talk about the most commonly kind of known hair loss, and one that you would normally read. To be honest with you, it's something you would see day to day on social media, on posts, on tags. You know, it's quite talked about now with celebrities and bloggers and people kind of coming forward. And that word and that type of hair loss is alopecia. With alopecia, again, there are many different forms, but we're going to mainly be concentrating today on alopecia areata. Why, what is it, and why it occurs? We'll talk about also treatments for hair loss as well, not just for alopecia, but just generally treatments as well with what works for men, women, and in some cases children, but depending on their age. We'll touch upon the importance of diet and nutrition and the effects that it has on hair loss and the effects it has on hair growth, as well as kind of my top tips of what I found that worked for me. And one of the things that I'll kind of talk to you through this is what will work for one person always won't work for another. So it's always really important, if yourself, you know, listening to this evening, or any friends or family members that you know that are suffering with hair loss, for them to really kind of come and see a specialist to get a full understanding of not just what's occurring, you know, on their scalp with the hair loss, but also what else has been occurring as well. Do they suffer with illnesses, their diet, lifestyle, stress? So all of these things we'll kind of look at as well, and what kind of worked for myself. Like I said, we'll be doing a Q&A at the end. Throughout, if you have any questions, do send them over, because they'll literally kind of stack up upon one another for me at the end. And then also there'll be a special offer as well at the end for you. In a couple of weeks, I've got a new website going live as well. But for now, if any of you would like further information after today, I've got a Facebook page which is called Simone Thomas Wellness World. It's a really friendly page, open forum, a lot of clients, a lot of people from around the world that have spoken to me or seen me or read about articles that I have written come to ask questions. We also post great tips and hints as well about hair and hair loss and stuff as well. So like I said, that's Simone Thomas Wellness World, and that's on Facebook. And again, today's recording and information that we kind of talk about as well will be going up there as well. So let's get going. It's a Monday evening, and I'm sure you've all got other things to do as well. So we're going to spend kind of the next 45 minutes of myself talking. Hopefully I won't lose you along the way. And then we'll kind of allocate 10-15 minutes towards the end to answer kind of questions and answers. I will say now, no question is is going to be a stupid question, so don't feel scared by asking something. I'm not going to read out names, so nobody's going to know who's asking the question, and I'll answer it as much as I possibly can. If I feel it needs a lot more time, again, because obviously I'll have your details from the webinar, I'll be able to send you more of a personal answer as well. And again, if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to make it up. I will come back to you with some sort of details, facts and research as well. And know that obviously I will come back to you on email, and also post the question and answers on the Facebook page as well as a great reference back to yourselves as well. So let's get going. So as we said earlier, my name is Simone Thomas. There's me running on the beach on a very, very cold, windy day last year. It was horrendous. But for the last 10 years, I have worked as a hair loss consultant and a hair loss expert for the hair industry. I then went on to further my career just because of connections that I found with clients that I was seeing on a day-to-day basis with hair loss, and went and trained in nutrition and weight management. Some of you might ask why in weight management, and that would link and would be great for another webinar where people were losing dramatic weight or going on different diet plans, and it was just too much for the body, and the body couldn't keep up basically, which then resulted in issues with their hair. But again, that would be a completely new subject for another hour's call on a webinar. But it all kind of works together when we're looking at hair. So for me, to be the best at what I do, and for my team and for my business, not only did we train in hair loss, we also look at nutrition, at weight management, and other areas such as bioenergetic testing, which I will kind of talk about a little bit later. But again, this information, we will keep uploading information to the Facebook page as well. I'm very proud to say, an award-winning entrepreneur. I've won over 20 awards now in the last 8 years that range from customer services, contributions to marketing and PR in the industry, and I've been named twice now entrepreneur, most recently in the last couple of months for Successful Women in Business Awards. And 4 years ago, I remember it very clearly because the announcements made me go into labour, and that was Entrepreneur of Great Britain, which even to this day now blows my mind, compared to the companies that I was kind of up against, and how hair loss is now seen and recognised and talked about. So for me, you know, that's been an amazing journey. And what's led me here is my own personal battles with hair loss and with issues to do with my body as well, which we'll kind of go into as well. But as I like to call it, I've been a long-term hair loss warrior. You know, we call myself Simone Thomas Wellness Warrior. So let's get going onto the next parts. I can see some of you already sending your questions through to me. Let's just have a look to see. Oh, okay, so it's saying that you can't see my slides. Could you please flick through your slides? Okay, I am going through them. Can you see them now that they're being changed? Let's try that. Okay, guys, can you see that? Let's have a look. Okay, resume share and try again. No, okay. How strange. There I am, talking away to myself with all these beautiful slides and none of you can see them. Okay, let me try and share the slides again. Let's see if it works this way. Okay. Can you see them now? Can you see them? Okay, so we've got to the slightly bumpy journey. Okay, fantastic. I'm getting lots of high fives and lots of yeses. Apologies, guys. It's probably my error. This is the first time I've actually done one of these. I'm used to standing up on stage and talking to people, but actually my kind of first webinar, even though I've been practicing and rehearsing all day long today. Oh, hang on, there's just some more. I just want to make sure that you guys can see this before we start. Yep, okay, so lots of high fives and lots of happy faces. So let's continue. So literally the slide before this was me running on the beach on a very, very windy day. Not a great picture, but you would have kind of got what I was talking about. So as I said, I class myself as a hair loss warrior, and this is what's led me to my bumpy journey, as the slide says, and how I've got to where I am today. So in my younger years, I have suffered and still do suffer with stomach complaints in the form of inflammatory bowel disease, so IBD. Many of you would know of other conditions of IBS, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Then came along B12 deficiency. So for any of you that have heard of B12 or not necessarily knowing what the function is, it really helps and links to kind of how the bowel functions and the whole kind of gut in to do with absorption of vitamins and minerals, absorption of the food, of fluids that you put into the body. And this is really key, and it's something that I will go on to talk about, of how the gut is so important and why what you eat and what you drink on a day-to-day basis really does have a vital role with your hair, with hair loss and with hair growth. But the actual cause for the hair loss for myself was in my 20s. And for any guys on the call, you know, I apologize now, but it's something that should be talked about and is still quite taboo for a lot of people. I actually went for just a regular checkup at the nurse. I was 21, and at the time, just because of complaints that I had, she had basically offered to do some swabs and to do a smear, which at the age that I was, it wasn't common to have a smear, I believe, till you're kind of 25, 26. And it was only after Jade Goody, unfortunately, you know, as we all know the story with Jade, you know, she found out that she had cervical cancer. Unfortunately, it was very, very late for her, and then she passed away. It was in those checks from the nurse that it came back that I had very severe abnormal cells. They came back within a week of examinations being done, and the following week I was admitted into the Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, where I had various procedures. But unfortunately, as a result of that, I then suffered with a couple of conditions. I had a lot of infections, a lot of bleeding. I couldn't go to work for nearly a year, which resulted in me actually resigning from my job due to stress of my boss. Let's just say not being very sympathetic to us ladies' problems and just wanting to know when £1 million targets were going to be hit. So the fact of being on constant medication, a lot of deficiencies in the body with B12, my bowels had inflamed, I had lost a lot of weight, my hair started to fall out. It happened very, very quickly in my case. It literally looks, for any of you ladies know what I'm talking about, like the wax strips when you go and get your legs waxed. It's like somebody had come up to me at a house party and I had fallen asleep and literally decided to take the front of my hair off, including my brows and my lashes. This was very, very quick in how it happened and occurred, and not all forms of hair loss happen so quickly. Some can happen very, very quickly, but some can be over a longer period of time. So my journey started in my 20s, and I'm now nearly 40, and it still is an insecurity, even though my hair has grown back. I think for a lot of us out there that once you've kind of suffered, it's always something that's in the back of your mind. So I was very lucky, you know, out of it, the fact that I had the smear, you know, to be able to kind of find, you know, that's what was going on in my body at the time. And as a result, okay, yes, I did end up with alopecia, but it could have been a lot worse. And looking at kind of stats, you know, before I go on to the next slide, just to remind any of you ladies that are listening that have got it in your diary, oh, you know, I haven't been for my smear and I really need to book it in. I cannot stress the importance. So please make a little note this evening, if it's the one thing that you take away from this call, to make sure yourself, your friends, your family members, you know, if you haven't had your regular smear, please do go and get checked in. It is something that I see a lot of in the salons with cancers and hair loss that result to that. And cases, you know, between 2014 and 16, there was over 3,000 cases of cervical cancer. And 99.8% of those, which is a huge number, could have been prevented according to the 2015 stats. So I was very, very lucky with what happened to me. And sometimes they say, you know, what you go through then creates your journey later on in life. And that has definitely been the case with obviously what I've gone through and what I'm doing now day to day. I'm just going to check you guys can hear, because I've got a couple of kind of questions that have come up, but no, I think everybody can kind of hear and see everything. Let me just check, guys. Sorry, I don't want to be Oh, amazing. Okay, so all of you are saying it's fantastic. So that's a good thing. So I will keep going. So now let's talk about alopecia, enough about myself. So let's kind of talk about why we're here today and you know, why you guys have dialed in and spending the time to listen to what I've got to say. Alopecia is a very common form of hair loss. It's a word that you will read about on a weekly basis. 147 million people currently, in the latest stats worldwide, have had or will develop a form of alopecia areata at some point in their lives. So if we take a step back, that's a huge amount of people. And it's something, you know, over the years to come with the alopecia charities, you know, there's constant research, you know, all the different ages that are kind of affected. You know, it's a very, very common form of hair loss, but one that still is not very well known in regards to a cure or one solution that would fit all. So as you can see at kind of the bottom of the slide, you know, the 3 W's, as I like to call it, the kind of the what's, the whys and the who's. So I'm going to talk in some depth now about alopecia and kind of what the real causes are and things that kind of, you know, people have been told about that are sometimes not necessarily a true fact. But alopecia areata, which I'm going to call it AA, not the roadside guys, but it's what it's abbreviated to in the industry, is a very common non-scarring form of hair loss, which is basically caused by your immune system, which basically meditates attack onto your hair follicles. Interestingly, any part of our bodies which have hair, so arms, legs, you know, pubic region, brows, lashes, can all be affected by this type of hair loss. This also includes, and again, a lot of us forget this can also include animals as well. Animals can suffer with alopecia, and you sometimes see this quite commonly on dogs, that you'll see a circle and it's gone grey. So animals such as dogs, cats, horses and cattle can also suffer from alopecia as well. AA, when we're looking at it, is occasionally associated with other medical problems, but again, this isn't in all cases. And when we say other medical problems, we're looking at things like autoimmune conditions, which if you were to type into Google autoimmune conditions, you would get a list of 200 to 300 different variants of what an autoimmune condition is. I'm linking this back and referring alopecia to things such as lupus, thyroid disease, vitiligo, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, one person you might know is Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One racing driver. He went out with a very beautiful model recently, and I want to say her name is Winnie Harlow, and I might have got that wrong, so please, apologies if I have. Absolutely stunning, but again, her skin was a combination of sort of 2 different tones, and it basically was vitiligo. Also, other conditions that can happen is things like ulcerative colitis, as well as thyroid issues as well. So these are all causes of what can bring on things such as alopecia. And also actually one that's very, very key and something that I see in kind of older people is rheumatoid arthritis. Fantastic, it is Winnie Harlow. Thank you guys for sending that through to me. So yeah, as I said, it's basically the body's kind of immune system attacking the hair follicle, and it basically disrupts normal hair formation. Alopecia areata can occur within family members. So it's something that we always ask when people come into us, you know, does anybody in your family suffer with alopecia or other forms of hair loss? If they do, sometimes this gives us an inkling that it could be a suggested role of genes and genetics. Even though current research does suggest that AA is not caused by abnormalities in the body or the immune system that damages the hair follicles, there is definitely something that is going on in the body whilst this is actually occurring. So something that a lot of people tend to read about is that they believe that it's the whole body being attacked. It's not, it is just purely the follicle that is being attacked when these forms of hair loss are actually happening. For some, there is hope. And again, there's no age group, there's no whether it's male or female or ethnic origin. For some with alopecia areata, the hair would grow back within 12 to 18 months. For others, some areas grow back whilst others don't. And for others, unfortunately, the hair doesn't grow back. Why that is, it's still something that's being researched, because like I said earlier, everybody is completely different. So this kind of leads me on to kind of my next kind of point and area to kind of talk about. On the market, you know, we're saturated now, especially with how news and, you know, advertising and influence is kind of passed to us, of different forms of alopecia treatment and hair loss treatment, of, you know, buy this shampoo and in 4 weeks time you'll have 12 inches of new hair growth. Wow, well, I wish if there was a shampoo that would give me 12 inches of hair growth, I wouldn't leave the bathroom. And it's very, very confusing for a lot of people. When you're suffering with hair loss, you know, you do feel, and not always, you know, because some people have come to terms with it, but you can feel incredibly low. You know, it can affect your confidence, it can cause, you know, forms of depression, anxiety, weight loss, weight gain. You know, it can destroy relationships. You know, some people have even taken their lives, you know, not just because of hair loss, but because of everything else that's kind of going on as well. So on the market, you know, that there's various different forms, and it really does depend as well on how the person wishes to treat themselves. Some people are not into having prescribed medication. So when I'm talking about prescribed medication, as you can see from the beautiful picture here, is in the form of injections, which would be steroid injections, or steroids in form of tablet form, as well as topical solutions. For some, they like to go down a more natural approach, more of a holistic approach. So they would look at things like Indian head massage, reflexology, Reiki, acupuncture, and use things like essential oils to massage into the scalp. For anybody that is into essential oils, again, this will be uploaded, so don't worry if you haven't got pen and paper. One of the great remedies that we like to kind of give people and tell people to try is basically a tablespoon of almond oil with 3 to 4 drops of rosemary essential oils mixed with a bit of peppermint essential oils. You mix this all together and you basically massage it into the scalp and follicle. I'd recommend this only once to twice a week. Ideally in the evening, just because it's when you're more relaxed, it's when your body goes into repair whilst you sleep. For some, this again isn't the option that they wish to go down to. They wish to try other forms of treatment. And later on, we'll kind of talk about diet and nutrition and how that's very vital for hair growth, not just for people that suffer with hair loss, but how it can, you know, play a key role in absorption and in gut function. So as I said earlier, there isn't currently one treatment out there for people that suffer with alopecia. There isn't a magic pill, there isn't a magic shampoo or spray. And what works for somebody won't work for somebody else. So depending on the type of alopecia that you have, because there are many different forms, and even with alopecia areata, depending on your age and the extent of the hair loss in regards to how much hair that you have actually lost, depends on what treatment would be suitable for yourself. One thing that is also really key, no matter whether somebody has lost 50% of their hair or lost 80%, diet and nutrition is key. And again, it's something that I could talk about for hours. And it's something that I will talk about for hours next year, because I'm having a book that's going to come out which will blow your mind, everybody, which will talk a lot more about diet, nutrition, not just to do with hair loss, just loads and loads of things that I see on a day-to-day basis. But for anybody that we're looking at, whether they are nearly completely bald or in early stages of hair loss, diet and nutrition is really key. So whilst there are a variety of treatment options available, the main goal of any treatment with any form of alopecia is that we want to block the immune system that is attacking basically the hair follicle, which is stopping it from stimulating the growth of the hair. So yes, we can look at diet, lifestyle changes like your diet, your nutrition, and then come up with a treatment plan which would be effective. For most that have more than 50% of their hair, prescribed medication won't always be needed because the hair should grow back 12 to 18 months, but this isn't the case for all. For those that do have 50% more hair loss on the scalp, or even that's been affected on other areas of the body, then there's something like the tablets, the topical medications and solutions which can be applied or injected, as well as things as PRP and light treatments. All of these things, because there just isn't enough time to kind of go into all the options, I will make sure that I upload onto the Facebook Simone Thomas Wellness World for you to have a really good read. And again, you can post questions on there and I'll always come back to you, you know, as soon as I possibly can. So while none of the medications, you know, there's not one answer that fits all, is kind of out there for everybody, it's really important to try and find a solution that, one, works best for you, doesn't cause too much stress, because there are products like minoxidil and Rogaine and things that we all kind of see day to day in chemists, but it can cause a lot of stress on people. So what I tend to find, and what I have found that works for me and works for a lot of my clients, is basically through years of research, the last 10 years, of how I've treated myself and my symptoms, how I've been able to manage and control those through my diet and through my lifestyle. One of the things that I didn't talk about earlier in one of the earlier slides is I also suffer with a hormone issue, endometriosis. And as a lot of you might know, hormones, you know, can affect our hair as well. So for me, I have to really be on top of what I put into my body on a day-to-day basis. One, because of a hormone-related side, but two, otherwise, if I eat the wrong foods, I literally would look like Homer Simpson. My stomach just absolutely bloats. So I need to really make sure I know what I'm doing day to day. So why is diet so important for our hair? You hear the saying all the time, you are what you eat, and it's very, very true. You know, a great diet does equal better hair. And I'm not saying that this is the cure for alopecia. For anybody that's listening today that has suffered with alopecia for many years, and you know your diet and your lifestyle, it's just a general kind of fact that I'd like to get across, not just for your hair, but for collagen, for skin, for gut health, and mainly because the foods that we eat day to day now, our lives have changed so much. When we look at our great grandparents, when, you know, foods were fresh, you know, milk wasn't designed to last 3 weeks in the fridge. You know, a lot of our food nowadays does have chemicals, it does have pesticides. You read about it daily in the press of all of these things that, you know, we're eating, and how people are forming cancers and hair loss and other you know, illnesses, whether it's anxiety and depression, and it's all being linked, you know, down to gut health, which is where and it's not an area that I want to talk, you know, hugely about, but that's where you know, Simone Thomas Wellness, you know, my range of supplements kind of, you know, stemmed from. One, from my personal experience, but also due to family illnesses and issues that I had with my 2 children, was really looking at, you know, what is it the body needs that it's kind of lacking, and what is it that we are doing to our bodies that we need to kind of eliminate. So that's looking at things like probiotics, looking at super greens, removing acidity in the body, which can cause inflammation. When you have inflammation in the body, it can cause things like acne, you know, bad skin, outbreaks, and hair loss. And the reason why this is hair isn't a vital organ for your body to function. Yes, it makes us look absolutely gorgeous, you know, and some of us don't need hair either to look absolutely gorgeous, but it's not a vital organ for the body to function. So when your body is either unwell through illness, or you've got inflammation, because as I said earlier, these other forms of autoimmune disorders, the body kind of looks at it and says, right, I'm feeling 80% today, and I've only been given 50% of what I need. So what am I going to do with that 50% of the food and the liquid that's being given to me? One of the things it's not going to do is it's not going to give it to the hair. It's not going to promote that to the hair follicle to allow for it to grow. And the reason why food is so important, which this diagram, you know, explains very, very easily, is hair is fed from the hair follicle, which is located under the skin of our scalp, which collects all its nutrients from our blood. So if you think about what you do day to day, whether that's in forms of exercise, your diet, stress levels, medication, illnesses, and what you drink, everything is absorbed into our bloodstream, which is then what provides kind of all the information, all the nutrients and everything that our hair needs to grow. So like us all, you know, we all do have bad diets at times, or we go on a, you know, crazy binge of things that we shouldn't, or we don't drink enough water, or we have too many Starbucks or Costa in the morning, or, you know, my background years ago when I worked in IT, too many donuts. Thank God Krispy Kremes weren't around at that time, because I think I would have turned into one. But back then, if I really look at what I was putting into my body 15, 20 years ago, you know, cups of tea in the morning, Starbucks, packaged sandwiches, crisp deals, you know, and it's something that, you know, a lot of us still do, but don't really kind of take a step back to think, God, I have actually given my body the water it needs, or the protein, or the vitamins and minerals, which kind of leads us into some really key vitamins and minerals that are needed for hair growth. For hair to be at optimum growth, it is reliant on the hair follicles being satisfied by necessary vitamins and minerals. There is a huge list of what I would say to somebody is kind of needed for your hair to grow and to kind of be in optimum health. But these are kind of the 4 that I would always kind of look at if somebody was coming to me with forms of alopecia. We would look at having some blood tests done. We would also, for those that, you know, didn't want to go to blood tests and were happy to have it done within the clinic, we do something called Bioenergetic. Again, I'll provide further information on that, because again, it's kind of going off topic here. But these are really, really vital vitamins and minerals that are needed for the body. So again, the 3 W's, the what, the whys, and the hows. So iron is one of the first things that we always look at. Any form of hair loss, even fatigue, anything like that somebody might be suffering from. Why is it really important? So iron helps your body produce hemoglobin, which helps stimulate the growth of hair cells. If you have an iron deficiency or anemia, this could also be a cause of hair loss, as well as some people have too much iron. That again can also have a negative effect on hair and cause the hairs to fall out. For people now, it's such a varied diet. You know, we have veganism, vegetarian, you know, it's huge with what people kind of follow. So I'm trying to cover, you know, different areas of where you can kind of find these vitamins and minerals. So with iron, you know, you can find it in lentils, in spinach, and in red meat. I would say for anybody, you know, that likes cooking and likes kind of, you know, preparing food, try to always buy fresh. If you can, buy organic, and also look to try and buy your meat from the butchers, just because it's not being pumped with chemicals to make it look the way it does, to look nicer on the shelves. So try to start looking to buy local through your local stores. Again, the world's kind of changing that way now. It's kind of got that more feel to it, which, you know, I'm really enjoying, and I love going to the different places and buying my food. I get some people haven't got the time, but if you do get the time, or the little farmers market, it's great what you can kind of find. Anyway, going off tangent there, let's kind of talk about zinc. So zinc again is really important with forms of hair loss and alopecia. It will help and aid with hair tissue repair and growth, which is really vital for healthy hair, and also for the hair to remain and for it not to detach from the follicle. Some people will grow hair and after 3-4 inches it starts to break and snap off. Zinc is really important to kind of stop this from happening. Again, like iron, zinc deficiency is a very common symptom of hair loss as well, and zinc can be found in beef, pumpkin seeds, and shellfish. There's a huge list, and again, I'll upload this to my Facebook page, which is the Simone Thomas Wellness World. I have an amazing superfood sheet. It's my holy grail of shopping, and I always say to people to kind of have a look at it and try and pick 5 items off the shopping list daily and have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There'll be some things on there that you think, oh my God, I absolutely love that food. Why don't I eat more of it? So again, hopefully that will kind of help and stuff as well. So I just want to, I've kind of missed a slide, or it's not there, so I apologize. So just obviously just quickly covering vitamin A and vitamin D. Vitamin A is really essential for cell growth. It's great for when your body's repair at night, considering that's when our body goes into a state of repair. So vitamin A is absolutely fantastic to take at night, along with vitamin C and forms of collagen as well. It's a great vitamin to take. It helps your skin and the glands create sebum, which is basically what you would see if you ever came in to see somebody like myself or another specialist under the microscope. It's kind of, I always kind of say to people, it looks a little bit like Vaseline on the scalp. People are kind of put off by it and think, oh my God, I washed my hair this morning, it looks horrendous. It's not. It's a very natural process of what the body does. Some people do secrete more sebum than others, which is then when you sometimes get a build-up of oily scalp, but then you would use a product to kind of remove that. The sebum does help moisturize the scalp, it protects the scalp, and it keeps your hair healthy. So it's really, really important. Vitamin A can be found in sweet potatoes, in carrots, in pumpkin seeds, and in pumpkins as well as spinach and kale. And then the last one on this list is vitamin D. Again, low levels of this have actually been linked to alopecia areata. It's thought to play a very, very key important role with new hair production. And this can be found for any fish lovers out there in mackerel and salmon. I always love to have that stuff in the morning in a breakfast muffin. Again, if you get stuck of any ideas of what to cook, I have got a YouTube channel of me trying to look a little bit like Nigella, that's sometimes going horribly wrong. Again, you can find that on Facebook, but I do that really to try and help my clients that don't know necessarily what to cook or how to cook, and to kind of take the stress out. And I like to kind of make fun videos, go-to snacks, easy breakfast, lunch, dinner recipes, all within half an hour, with really key food choices, vitamins and minerals that will really help hair growth, skin health, and also gut function and stuff as well. So hopefully you haven't all fallen asleep on me, and you're still obviously all online. So kind of just rounding everything up that we've kind of talked about this evening. Again, as I said earlier, you can spend hours talking about different forms of hair loss. What works for one doesn't always work for another. But what I have found that works for me, and again, like I say, I'm built very differently to somebody else, but this is what has worked for my body type, for my conditions, because, I'm coming from endometriosis, inflammatory bowel disease. I do get a lot of stress in my life, obviously running some very busy companies. I'm a mum of two, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. I don't always give myself the best advice. I'll tell everybody else to take their tablets in the morning for hair growth and optimum performance, but I'm always the last one that takes them in the afternoon. But it is always sometimes about just making time for yourself, and sometimes just being a little bit selfish to kind of look after yourself first. So for me, I follow an anti-inflammatory diet. I've got loads of information on this. Again, it'll all be uploaded into Facebook over time, so please kind of do sign up and you can have a good read and share your ideas and what works for you. I'd really love to kind of find out what you guys follow, what it is that you're doing now, or what you've kind of experienced over time as well. So kind of like a rundown of what I kind of do on a daily or weekly basis. One thing I have done for years, just due to acidity in the body, and how that links to the gut function and how the gut basically absorbs everything we do, whether it's in physical form through what we eat or through emotional form. It's the gut, which in my eyes, apart from the brain, is the most important vital organ. I like to call it the mothership. It's basically got full control of everything that we put into the body and how it's going to take that and what it's going to do with that information that you put through the body in the forms of food and through liquids. So for me, I always start my day with hot water and lemon, not the actual lemon skin, just half a squeeze, because it helps eliminate toxins, it aids with liver and digestion, and it also, I find, stops me craving naughty treats and chocolate and the biscuit tin when I get into the salon sometimes, and clients have bought a massive pack of hobnobs and I can smell them and really trying not to try and have any. I also, with my anti-inflammatory diet, I have a lot of avocados, cherries, grapes, papayas, pomegranates, sweet potatoes. I drink a hell of a lot of raspberry tea. I only started that 4 years ago because I got told that it will help bring on labour. It didn't actually work for that, but ever since, I absolutely love drinking raspberry leaf tea. I take my wellness tablets and have done for the last 3 years, one because of research of when I was setting up the company, and two, also because of what it's done for my hair over those last 3 years. For myself, I follow my Biotin plan, which is super green to aid detoxification and absorption, probiotic to really kind of line the gut, and then the biotin to help with hair and skin growth, or hair growth, and obviously collagen and skin and stuff as well. I find, all about correct supplementation. My supplements for myself fit the gap of where I'm not able to sometimes eat as much as I would like to kind of keep myself at optimum health. But again, as we talked about earlier, with too much iron in the body or deficiency, it's very hard nowadays to understand what is the correct supplement for us, because we're all very, very different. Some supplements aren't as greatly absorbed as others in the body. So for some of us, we are wasting money in supplementation, and some of them have negative effects just because of the way that they've been manufactured. So it is very, very important to kind of look at, again, like when you're looking at food labels, to kind of read, what it is that you're taking, but also make sure that you're actually taking what you need. You might not be iron deficient. It could be a form of bacteria or mold in the body that needs to be treated that's causing the hair loss. So it's kind of really finding what the trigger is and then treating that trigger, and then you can either make the suggestions and find what's kind of right for yourself. Another thing that's been around recently is turmeric powder. It's just gone crazy in the last 12 months. It's something that I cook a lot with. It can be found in curry powders. I tend to mix it a lot into my banana cakes, my ginger cakes. It hasn't got a huge taste when you're mixing it into foods. I don't necessarily like it on coffee, I have to admit. So I'm not a coffee lover of turmeric whatsoever, but it is something that I will put into smoothies and stuff as well. Exercise is really key, and you're probably going to wonder why these last 4 points have got anything to do with hair loss. And for me, there's many different areas when we're looking at the body and with hair, and it's kind of like a jigsaw when you're piecing all the information together of what's been going on in your life, past and present, what illnesses and what causes, or what's caused the hair loss or caused your hair to be where it is today. Exercise is really key, not necessarily to promote hair growth, but just for state of mind. One, for confidence, and I don't mean to, gain muscle or to lose weight, but just literally to have that 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to kind of switch off from the world. Unfortunately, nowadays, we do not even get a second of downtime. We've been on this webinar now for sort of 40 minutes, and I can see my phone in the corner, and already I've got over 15 WhatsApps and God knows how many social media alerts. It's not great for the body to function in such a way that we're constantly in that kind of environment. So for me, exercise for me is my downtime. My phone goes on silent unless I'm doing a gym selfie, then obviously it is in my pocket. But other than that, that's my free time to clear my mind, to make myself feel better, to boost my blood, my energy, really get all the toxins kind of moving out, and just to give myself a real boost. Sleep, again, is really, really vital for hair growth, and also just for general body function. It's when we recover and when we repair ourselves at night. If we're sleep deprived or we suffer with sleep issues and we're on sleep medication, it really does have a knock-on effect on our hair growth. So I always say to people, if you're suffering, kind of create a ritual when it comes to bedtime, whether that's a nice candle that you light an hour before, get some, new bedding, make it kind of feel like when you go to one of those amazing luxury hotels. Make your bedroom feel like that it's something that you just cannot wait to crawl into. And if you struggle to kind of switch off at night like I do, I use an amazing app through a speaker called Calm. It's absolutely amazing. And the great thing is there's, for any of you that know the actor Matthew McConaughey, well, for me, his voice is just incredible. So I tend to have one of his sleep stories on repeat just because I absolutely love his voice. Not that I ever get to the end of the sleep story because I've passed out and then get woken up at 5:30 by my son. But yeah, for anybody that suffers with sleep issues, it's so key to help with hair growth and the body to repair. So I definitely would kind of recommend that app as well. And again, downtime. I turn my phone off at 7 o'clock at night. Yes, I obviously keep an eye on it in case a shop alarm's going or there's an issue with a member of staff or family member. But when I get home, whenever I finish in the evening, that's kind of my time. And I try to have as much downtime as possible. All of these things, not enough exercise, not enough sleep, being on social media, on emails, work-life balance, all does affect the gut and kind of how it deals with absorption. And again, because like I said a moment ago, the gut is the mothership, it will decide what it's going to do with the information that we put into our bodies. So I always say to people, if you eat well and you look after your gut will look after you. And in return, hair will grow, hair will flourish, your skin will grow, and you'll look amazing and you'll feel amazing. So that's how those kind of three last points kind of all link together. So hopefully that kind of makes a little bit of sense for you all. And the other thing actually that I haven't put on this list, which is probably more important than anything that I have talked about, is water. Water is so key for us to drink on a day-to-day basis. I know all of us know, and we all get told, try to drink 2 litres of water a day. It's really vital for hair growth, for skin, for collagen, for blood cells, for flushing out toxins, for gut performance, for absorptions of vitamins, minerals, supplements, and food. So water is really, really key. So for any of you that don't drink much water, I hope after this webinar you go and get yourself a nice glass and make sure that you start drinking some water. So I'm hoping that obviously some of this has made sense and I've not lost you guys along the way. I know it's always very hard when it kind of makes sense in my own head, but then trying to get the information across can sometimes get lost. So I want to say thank you to you all. And I'm now going to open, obviously the webinar now to any questions that you may have. I won't read out your names, so please don't be scared if you've got any questions that you wish, that you want to ask. Nothing, is a stupid question, and I will try and answer it as much as I possibly can. If I get stuck with a question and I'm not too sure of the answer, I will come back to you, and I'll also post the question and the answer as well onto the Facebook Simone Thomas Wellness World. In the next couple of weeks, you will get an email with this recording, so it's something that you've got to go back to and refer to. And also you'll be sent an offer with my new website that's launching in a couple of weeks, which is 20% off for yourself, for family members and friends, for the award-winning supplement range that I've had out for the last couple of years, but it's been rebranded, and it's a really exciting journey that I've kind of got going ahead with that now. So I'm going to open it to the Q&A now, and again, please do ask any questions that you may have, and I will try and answer them for you. So the first question is, how much hair is normal to lose on a daily basis? When I blow dry my hair falls out, but I don't know what is normal and what is acceptable. So it varies on, are you washing your hair daily? Also varies on the type of hair you have as well as the hair color. On average, we can lose anything up to 150 hairs a day. It also looks a lot worse when we're washing our hair, and I always kind of call it the spider in the shower to clients when they come in with bags of hair, and I kind of ask them to kind of date stamp every fall of hair loss. Hair always looks a lot worse, when you're in the shower, because obviously it's wet, it sometimes makes it look a lot thicker and a lot darker. But on average, the average person would probably lose about 150 hairs a day. Years ago when I was growing up, I went to an all-girls private school, and one thing that they got us to do every night with a Mason Pearson brush was to always brush our hair, 50 times with our head down and 50 times the other way. Nowadays, I find a lot of people don't brush their hair as well as we used to. So you then tend to find a lot more hair is more visible coming out that's already detached itself, but is actually just got lost within your hair anyway, until you kind of wash and blow dry your hair. So I hope that's kind of answered your question. But again, I'll put some more facts and some information on the Facebook page as well for you. I've got another question saying, I'd be interested in hearing more about the wellness program. Is this something you do an initial consultation on to work out what I need? So it really varies on the person. With the new website and the work that we've kind of been doing for the last 9 months, there is an online quiz. It's free to take, and it kind of asks some general kind of medical health questions, and then it would kind of tell you which one would be more suitable. But again, if it was something that you're not sure, there is an email address that comes through to myself that basically we could kind of go through everything that would be needed with an initial consultation on email or via a Skype call or face to face, and then we can kind of put the plan in place that would be needed for you. Okay, so the next question: as you age, is it normal to lose hair, or should you have as much hair in your 50s as you should in your 20s? Well, yes and no. So some people, as you can see on the high street, you'll get some grannies at 80 that look absolutely fabulous, and you think that their hair's a wig, and then you realize it's all theirs. Why does that happen? Is it genetics? Is it lifestyle? It really does vary. Some of it is down to genetics. Other is also down to hormones. As women, if this question is more women related than female, but then actually I'll kind of talk about the male side in a second. When women obviously hit the menopause, depending on how our body adapts and how it works, with the menopause, some people go through the menopause and don't really notice any differences, where others of us really suffer, quite badly. That can have a knock-on effect, with your hair and how much hair that you have. Not that hair's made of collagen, but by the time you're kind of 30, your collagen in the body does start to lower. We don't produce as much as we normally do. So collagen is also something that we kind of advise people, once they're 35, 40, to look at starting to take like a collagen supplement, because that will help with hair growth, with skin, with joints, with muscles, with other issues that can come up, like forms of arthritis and joint pain. So it's a very 50-50 question. Some people it can affect because of age, whilst others it doesn't. We've got clients that are in their 90s that come in with amazing hair. And yeah, it is sometimes just down to genetics, but also, in that case, she's a very older lady living, how they used to live years ago, where it's our world now that's kind of got all these other illnesses and conditions. And it does make you think, which we talked about earlier, is it coming down to the social media, the diet, the lifestyle, and all of the kind of things that we're doing and stuff as well. Okay, so I have a question. I have my own small skin and hair clinic, and I'm very successfully restoring hair growth with human growth factors. Fantastic. Going back to your vitamins, would you be interested in me upselling them alongside my treatments for maximum effect? So yes, the products are going into the high street, and they're also going to be available for salons, spas, and for clinics in the UK and abroad. So the best thing for me to do is to, I'll save your name now, I'll write it down, and I will contact you and I can send further information to you. That's not a problem at all. Oddly enough, we work with a gentleman in London that does stem hair, stem cell transplants, and it's something that he provides to his clients as well, our supplement program as well. And a lot of clients that I have, mainly men, would kind of take the supplements for 6 to 9 months, and then they go on to have treatment with himself, mainly because his waiting list is like a year long. But yes, it's definitely is something that we can do. Okay, so another question. It's been about 18 years since I lost all of my hair. Are there any advances in treatment for people with alopecia totalis? I just assumed not. So on this, there isn't huge advances in treatment, but one thing that has been very successful, and I kind of touched upon it earlier, and again, it's quite a big topic to cover, is called bioenergetic testing. It might have been something that you've looked into the past or you have read about, but it basically looks at 40,000 or up to 40,000 different algorithms in the body and tests. So it's more thorough than having blood tests because it works in real time. And what I have noticed since using this is, as an example, I had a very young girl, 13, that came to me with very severe alopecia. And everything that her mum was telling me, you know, happy child, you know, not unwell, just, you know, nothing was kind of, you know, coming up. So we put her onto the machine, and the first thing it came up with is that she had a moldy toenail, which blew the mum away because she wondered how I knew it. Obviously, I didn't know because it wasn't on any paperwork, it was the machine. And basically the machine was saying that the body immune system had become so weak over those 2 years of this toenail infection and constant use of antibiotics that basically her immune system just couldn't function anymore. She got a bad case of tonsillitis, which again can affect your immune system, and then her hair literally fell out in the space of 3 months to the point that she ended up with 10 hairs. I'm happy to say now, you know, this was last year that this happened to this young girl. I see her regularly and her hair has now started to grow back. Again, it's a very different, you know, form of alopecia, but I'd be more than happy, you know, to get you booked in, because I won't mention the name, but obviously I recognize the name of who's asked the question, and come and see myself, and let's just kind of see what the machine says, and who knows, I might be pleasantly surprised, and you might as well, and we've got nothing to lose, and you know, it's something that we could definitely worth trying. Yes, please. Fantastic. We'll get you booked in. Okay. Another question. Are straighteners and extensions really bad for your hair? Would using these on a regular basis lead to hair loss? So, shouldn't really straighten your hair on a day-to-day basis. If you do use heat on your hair, as we all know, and this isn't me selling professional products, it's really vital that you use really good shampoos, conditioners, and heat protective sprays. It's really good that you use straighteners that have got a heat limit to them. I'm sure some of you have seen some of those crazy YouTube videos with the curling wands, and next minute the hair's fallen off and broken and the girl is completely distraught. So it's just being careful with the amount of heat and how many times that you're going over to the hair. There is a product now called Kerastraight, which for anybody that does suffer with frizzy hair, it's an amazing product and will save you having to straighten your hair every day, that I definitely highly recommend. Again, extensions, are they bad for your hair? Yes and no, depending on who's fitting them and also the application method. So within my salons, you know, we fit wigs, hair systems, and hair extensions of different forms. The only extensions that we don't do are the glue-in ones, only because even though it's, you know, they kind of class it that it's not a chemical, the way I describe it to people, it's like putting super glue on a wall, leaving it for 3 months, and then trying to take that super glue off your newly decorated painting wall in your house. There is no way, unless you go with a knife or a chisel, that you're going to get that off. And that's the same as when I'm kind of looking at those kind of types of hair extensions. I do over time, I wear hair extensions, you know, my hair's, you know, grown back. I'm really, really happy with my hair. But if I've got special occasions, or, you know, I just want to change things up, or like I did at Christmas, I decided to cut my hair into a uneven bob, and then a month later I was like, why have I done this for? You know, I do use hair extensions, and it is all about, you know, the right person fitting them, the right type of extensions, and then also the right kind of care whilst doing this at home. Yes, straighteners, you know, heat can cause forms of hair loss, and extensions can cause, you know, forms of traction alopecia. But again, this will come down to incorrect fitting and also incorrect care after them being fitted, or constant use of hair extensions. But there's no reason, if you have them fitted correctly and you look after them, that you would suffer with hair loss. We wouldn't recommend that you have them fitted 365 days a year without a break, because one, it's just nice to feel your own scalp and your own hair and get some treatment through it, but there isn't a reason why, you know, well-fitted extensions would cause hair loss. Okay, another question that's come through. My hair is shredding dramatically and I've been diagnosed, okay, with female pattern hair loss at 37. There is no history in my family. I've had long doses of antibiotics and steroids over the last couple of years. Do you think this could be the cause? So what happens here, obviously they sometimes link female pattern baldness. As you said, there's no history in your family. Also, there are now connections with gut health. And I briefly touched on this earlier of what we put into our bodies, and antibiotics and steroids, the body sees as kind of toxic in the way it's not a natural product that we're putting in. You know, it's man-made in a factory. It's not grown from the ground or off a tree or from the ocean. So the body, if it's been, you know, having these things going through it for, you know, a period of time, it can cause hair to alter. And this is because it affects the hormones within the body. And there's many articles that you can read online. And again, I can post some information as well onto the Facebook group. Anything that we put into the body, like antibiotics or steroids, affects our gut flora, the gut microbiome. And what this does is it causes an imbalance, and it becomes very unstable and kind of causes like an inflammation. And where I said much earlier on the webinar, when the body's inflamed or not running at optimum health, because you don't need hair to function, it's one of the first things for it to start to be affected. So yeah, antibiotics and steroids can cause this. I'm not too sure, obviously, which ones that you're on, but by all means, you know, I'm going to write your name down, and it's something that we can, you know, talk about on email, just because I've got, you know, a library that I get access to online, and medical journals as such that give further insight into certain antibiotics and steroids. But yeah, they are a cause of forms of female thinning, female pattern hair loss. There are things that you can do to prevent your existing hair. And again, that links back to kind of why Simone Thomas Wellness Supplements was born. It's all to do with probiotics, which protect the gut when you're taking antibiotics and steroids, and then alkalines, your super greens, to kind of flush out the nasties that these things can kind of leave behind. And then obviously things like biotin or ginkgo biloba, which will help promote hair growth and stuff as well. Biotin can be taken by pretty much everybody. Ginkgo, the other form of supplement, if anybody's got heart condition or any sort of blood thinning issues or blood thinning tablets, that's the only time that you wouldn't be able to take it. But other than that, there are things that, you know, can kind of be done to treat and to help for sure. But I'll be able to get some information to you. That's not a problem at all. I think that might be all the questions from everybody. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know it's late and it's Monday, the first day of the week. Hopefully, you know, a little insight to what I do and the information that I've shared has kind of hopefully given you a little bit of hope and shed a little light on alopecia. We are going to be doing a poll through the Facebook group to kind of ask what you'd like me to talk about more, or any questions that you might come up. For the lady, you know, if you have your own clinic and salon, by all means, if you ever get any clients that ask you some questions that you're not too sure about, by all means, share them on the forum, and I'll be more than happy to help and answer, you know, and help along the way. Yes, I do obviously have my own salons and clinics, but for me, if I could help everybody in the world, you know, I would do, because I know what it's like to lose your hair as a woman. I always say to people, it doesn't matter what house you have, what latest handbag or car you drive. If your hair doesn't feel right, you just don't feel like yourself. So if there's anything I can ever do, you know, or any questions I can answer, do just jump on the Facebook page and I'll be able to answer them for you. But all of you, make sure you go and get a glass of water. I want you to all upload a selfie onto the Facebook page. But have a really lovely evening and sleep well. And I look forward to obviously hopefully seeing you all again soon on a webinar or on email or you know, in one of my clinics as well. But thank you ever so much, everybody, and have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye.